This is episode 709, and I'm Greg Swanson. Today we're going to be talking about the power of mindfulness. And if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, this topic comes up quite often. But with mindfulness, it's about unlocking mental clarity and focus. So let's dive into this. Here's a great quote. A warrior isn't just defined by his strength, but by his ability to master his mind. And that's so true. We tend to put more emphasis on techniques, if you will, besides what's the thought behind the technique. Whether it's, hey, how can I do a better sales? How can I get fit better? How can I, whatever it might be, we look at all the gadgets and the things to help us, but we overlook the biggest contributor to our success and failure, and that is our mind. So have you ever felt like your mind is your biggest enemy? It's like, why does this keep happening to me? Why can't I stick to a diet? Why can't I? All of those things, we just feel like our mind is our biggest enemy. But here's what's interesting, right? The mind is yours. And if we don't tame it like a puppy, it's going to crap all over the place. And that's what happens with a lot of us, is that we haven't trained our mind. It's like, again, having a puppy and letting it go crazy in the house. It never gets trained. And that's what happens with the majority of us. And that's why our mind actually feels like our biggest enemy. It's almost like you're battling against distractions and stress and negative thoughts and shiny objects and what should I do here? We have gotten such a short attention span because of TikTok and video shorts, and et cetera, that most people can't even sit still and focus to read one page in a book. But this is all part of lack of mindfulness. So, true warriors just don't train their bodies. They train their mind first, right? And here's the great thing about the physical component is you can sit and train your mind. And it is a great way to do it, whether it's meditation, mindfulness in the moment. But when you go out and you try to train your mind during an activity, driving your car, hitting traffic, doing something else, it then works more challenging for you. But we need to train our minds first, so we need to start with small things. So the power of mindfulness isn't just a feel-good trend, like, oh, let's practice mindfulness today. It's the key to unlocking mental clarity, peak performance, and unwavering focus. And we're going to go into a little bit of that during this podcast. In this podcast, we're diving deep into how mindfulness sharpens the warrior mind and how you can use it to dominate your own battlefield, whether that's in business, athletics, or life. Why mindfulness is a warrior's secret weapon? Well, a warrior who lacks focus is a liability on the battlefield and in life. It could be on the battlefield of sports. It could be on the battlefield of sales, wherever you want to call it. If you can't have focus, you're going to be a liability. Mindfulness helps cultivate razor sharp attention and discipline. Because basically the catchphrase for mindfulness is be here now. Ancient warriors, the samurais, the Spartans, the Shaolin monks used mindfulness as part of their training. And we can go back and read some of the documents about them and some of the history, and all of it is part of their training, right? The Spartans with the agoge training, the samurais constantly focusing on one thing at a time, and the Shaolin monks, right? So a mind without mindfulness is like an untamed stallion, wild, reactive, and uncontrollable. So whether you like the puppy scenario or the stallion, right? The stallion, it's there, it's ready to go. But without mindfulness, it's going to run all over the place. You're not going to be able to catch it. So there's a book, The Untethered Soul, which equates this to also horse and stallions. So here's some of the science behind mindfulness and mental clarity, right? Mindfulness reduces cortisol, which is a good thing, not all the time, but most of the time, helping manage stress under pressure. Here's the interesting thing. When we are under stress, it's fight or flight, right? It's our sympathetic nervous system. So blood doesn't go to all parts of the brain. It limits it. So our thinking sometimes is limited. Have you ever not been able to remember a person's name when you're under stress, or when you're under stress, you say something that you don't want to say or you regret? Well, that's part of not having access to all the resources because you're under stress. Blood goes to the parts that keep you alive. This is just a biological response, right? So the mindfulness also trains the prefrontal cortex, which is your decision making, and weakens the amygdala, which is the fear and anxiety. So this is how mindfulness can help offset that. The key with mindfulness is you want to practice it not when you're stressed, but when you're not, right? It's train the mind first. So we want to train it so we have that training to fall back on. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. Neuroplasticity, just like lifting weights strengthens muscles, when I'm a big proponent of lifting, mindfulness rewires the brain for peak performance. If you're under stress, if you're not here now, you cannot achieve peak performance. You'll be lucky if you achieve mediocre performance. So mindfulness will help you focus on what's important now and be here now. And so Navy SEALs are mindfulness to stay calm in combat. And I'm sure you've heard a lot from Mark Devine and Jocko Willick and so many others, and I won't go into that, but they are a prime example. And other elite military and other elite areas. Olympic athletes are the same way. So they're able to stay calm under pressure. So then how does mindfulness enhance focus and resilience? Focus is the warrior's true weapon. Mindfulness sharpens it. Focus, and I'd like to use the acronym, follow one course until successful, not follow many courses and give up on few, but focus, right? FOCUS, follow one course until successful. That's your true weapon. When you can sit at your desk or go out on the pitch or go out on your sports or go lift weights and you think of one thing and focus on that one thing until it's complete, then you move on to the next one, you will get more accomplished. You will reach more peak performance levels by focusing on one thing at a time. This also, mindfulness helps control emotional responses under high stress. That could be a client is coming down on you because the order got messed up. Your boss is taking you out because you forgot to do something. All of these high stress. Maybe you're a stockbroker or a stock trader and you're trying to, all of these are high stress. And mindfulness can help us, as opposed to just reacting, which means that our buttons are being pushed. We can choose to respond through thoughtfulness, through mindfulness. So when we can be mindful under high stress situations, we know we will respond appropriately as opposed to react inappropriately. And also mindfulness helps you to embrace discomfort and push through mental resistance. And again, if we look at focus and we'll look at weightlifting, so many people, they lift, and then when it starts to get uncomfortable, they stop. And that's actually where the lifts begin, because that's, you're going to go another 4 or 5 reps, and that's where the progress starts. But if you're not mindful about the lift you're doing, the form of it, the way your muscles use, you'll feel that burn and stop. But you're never going to build mental toughness through that, or mental resistance. So you need to be mindful of what you are doing and feel the discomfort and do it anyway. And then mindfulness is like sharpening a sword, right? Neglect it and it dulls over time. So we want to take our mindfulness and sharpen it every single day. Do something difficult every day so that you can build up that mental resistance and then be mindful of that as well. So here's practical mindfulness techniques for warriors. And I'm presuming, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a warrior. So tactical breathing, right? When we're under stress, it's also called box breathing. Inhale to a count of 4, hold it to a count of 4, exhale to a count of 4, and and hold it for a count of 4. So you do 4, 4, 4, 4, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And that can help with creating mindful, because one, you have to count, so you have to be aware of what you're doing. Another one you can do is, in addition to this, is maybe a 7-11. You inhale for a count of 7, exhale for a count of 11. But when you're counting, you need to be here now. So that can help a lot. Visualization or mental rehearsal can help tremendously with mindfulness, because as you are visualizing, you need to be mindful of what you are producing in your mind. Hopefully, when you're using visualization, it's for some upcoming event, a presentation, a sporting event, talking to somebody. You can do it with daydreaming, but it's more effective when you're visualizing, because you have to focus on what you're visualizing. And visualization isn't just one thing, what you see. It's actually mental rehearsal. See what you would see, hear what you would hear, feel what you would feel. All of those come into effect. So you have to really be mindful and focus on what you're doing in that case. So then there's the grounding technique. So let's say you're kind of scattered, upset a little bit. You take a deep breath, you do your 4-box breathing, then you go, what's 5 things I can see? What's 5 things or 4 things I can hear? 3 things I can touch? 2 things I can smell? 1 thing I can taste? And when you're doing that, you're actually distracting yourself from whatever emotion you're having. And it's a great grounding technique. This is wonderful for folks that are in high stress, anxiety and stuff. But if you're in a high stress situation and you need to calm down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is also a great method. And journaling for clarity. So at the end of the day, you go, I was in this high stress situation. Here's how I reacted. I would have rather responded. Next time it comes up, I will do the box breathing. I'll do the grounding or whatever it might be. So journaling is very, very effective. So here's some final thoughts, right? The key takeaways, mastering your mind is the first step to mastering your life. Your thoughts produce your reality. And it's not like a magic, poof, it's there, but your thoughts create your actions, and your actions create results, and your results are your reality. Mindfulness is the hidden edge separating warriors from the weak. And again, mindfulness is be here now. I've covered this in several other podcasts. Go back and listen to those, or reach out to me for a breakthrough session, and we can go into more depth. But here's the call to action. Try one mindfulness technique today. Start reclaiming your mental clarity. And probably in addition to the ones I provided here, I would say that when you are eating, turn off all distractions, preferably eat alone, and look at what you're going to eat, smell it first, and then as you eat it, notice the texture, notice the flavor, notice the temperature, and chew it thoroughly, and just be present with your food. That's probably the easiest way to practice mindfulness, in addition to the other ones I gave you. So subscribe. Also, what you want to do is subscribe to the Warrior Mind podcast for weekly insights on mental toughness, resilience, and peak performance. If you want to see the show notes on this podcast, you can visit warriormindcoach.com. While you're there, you can find some more useful information in the form of blog posts and podcasts, and as well as requesting your free breakthrough session. Since you'll be on the internet, please follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all under Warrior Mind Coach.